Welcome back to the Faculty Factory podcast, friends. It's Kim Skorupski here in the beautiful island of Galveston at the University of Texas Medical Branch, and I'm with Dr. Gulshan Sharma. Good morning, Dr. Sharma.
Good morning, Kim.
Dr. Sharma is the Senior Vice President and the Chief Medical Officer of the health system here at UTMB. And I was extraordinarily privileged to hear Dr. Sharma give a congratulatory speech to our scholars in leading and scholars in healing, led by Dr. Karagiri back a few months ago. And I was so riveted by the fact that Gulshan had so much wisdom, but had no notes. He didn't follow any kind of script. He just riffed on leadership and how it is personal. And I took notes like crazy, and I've been trying to get on his calendar, and I finally got him, and he's here with us. We're going to talk about how leadership is personal. Please, Dr. Sharma, get us going here and talk about what is leadership and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, hey, Kim, great to be with you. I'm sorry it took us this long to get together. So for me, leadership is all about suffering with the people you serve. The key thing for a leader, most organizations are well run, that are still in existence. What leadership brings in is a vision for the organization. And then basically the main thing for leader is that they need to manage the crisis and de-escalate crisis. So there are different qualities of a leader, and it is all situational. But I think the character of a leader is so important. The leader has to be authentic. And that is going to be key for any leader in any organization. Doesn't matter whether things are going great or doesn't matter that whether things are going bad. You are going to have ups and downs in any organization. No single day is same. So you got to keep your calm, and then you need to lead the organization during those times. And people look up to leadership for vision. And the leader's job is to see something that other cannot see in that organization where they want to take the organization in the next 3 to 5 years. So the leaders make people within the organization struggle to accomplish that shared vision that the leader has put together, given the skill set and the people within the organization. So most people may not be able to see it, but the leader can see that, hey, this is what this organization can do in the next 3 to 5 years, and I want to show them where we can take them. And that is where I think leader has to be inspirational and but inspirational, but authentic to look at where we are.
And so tell us, this is really interesting. Tell us more, Dr. Sharma, when you said make them struggle. We have to make them struggle. And I'm imagining that as a leader, it's that kind of finding comfort in the discomfort. And when I've been asked to stretch my capabilities because a leader saw something in me that I had capacity, I had a gift, I had a talent, I had a skill, I had an opportunity. So I was being stretched or pulled. Is that what you mean when you say make them struggle, that it's, that discomfort in change or improvement? What is that? Tell us more about it.
So, this comes from one of the things is, my take on books, they are great for inspiration, but then the end of the day, you got to put things in practice. You don't want to assimilate too much knowledge and get constipated. You got to actually use it. So this book, a long time ago, I read about Seventh Habit of Great Leaders. That's a great book.
Covey.
And there's talk about, eustress and distress. There are two kinds of stress. Eustress is a good kind of stress where you are actually working hard, but you are trying to accomplish something. And you look forward every day, you work hard because there's a vision that you want to take the organization to. It's not going to be easy, but it's a hard work, but you look up every day, get up every morning, and you want to do that. On the other hand, you have a distress. There's a two kind of eustress and distress, two kinds of distress is where you said, God, I don't want to get up. I don't want to go to work today. My boss is horrible. I hate my job. I don't want to do this work. That is distress. I think eustress is very good. It's all about change management. You can only evolve with change. Think about us, Kim. If the monkeys and chimps haven't evolved, there would be no human beings. So change is very much needed for evolution. Now, one thing with Charles Darwin theory of evolution, everything he looked was retrospective. He never told us what's going to come after humans.
Hmm.
So
Oh.
he studied the bones and he told us, how humans came. And there's always people think there's a missing link between chimps and humans because our brain is too big for the body we have because we developed a huge prefrontal cortex. So most of humans are still following the reptilian brain, which is your limbic system and which is driven by sympathetic nervous system. It's all about safety and security. So what we need to develop is the parasympathetic system. And a lot of the work when you think about exercise, good sleep, meditation, they're all there to develop parasympathetic nervous system. And the parasympathetic nervous system is so important for your emotional intelligence.
Mm.
So for me, for any given leader, work on parasympathetic. Sympathetic is given. You are already going to be in that flight and fight mode. That is in our DNA. But what is not under your control is to work on the parasympathetic. So the more you work on the parasympathetic nervous system, the calmer, more tranquil you get to make your decision better.
Mm. Mm. That's some pretty heavy stuff there. Oh my gosh, you're reminding me of the mantra of one of the leaders, Dr. Landon King at Hopkins during COVID. He said this dispassionate curiosity. And I remember he said I'm practicing dispassionate curiosity. And I thought, what an affront to my sensibilities because I'm passionate about everything. And it
Yeah.
was the same thing of the equanimity, this practicing regulation of emotions. And when you are a leader, you can't afford to be on fire and on a high alert because that then of course followers see that and that is not a calming presence. So yeah, I can be curious, but I have to level out my emotions.
The other way to look at it is Kim, they call detached but committed.
Detached but committed.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know, that doesn't mean that you don't care. You actually care more because you want to get to the results and goals. But when you get attached to something, and then you will not be able to change. To change and evolve, you got to be detached and committed. I love self-cannibalizing. If I something I'll start doing and I said, oh, this is a great idea after 3-4 years or whatever we're trying to do, it's not working out, kill it. Let's start with something new, because the question is for us is it was right for that right time.
Mm.
Your success is based on the context. So when you think about leaders, not every leader is successful in every organization. A leader could be successful in organization A. When they move to B, they are complete failure. The reason is the success is based on the context of that organization. And you cannot remove the context. And the context is so important when you say, why is somebody successful and somebody failed? In leadership, Kim, most decisions are 51-49. Okay, they are not like, the decisions are not like, oh, this is black, this is white, correct?
That would be too easy.
When we make decisions, you have two options, and either one could be right. And the successful leaders are most likely to pick the 51 versus 49.
Mm.
Some people say luck. Some people say the context. Some people say that this person has done its work and this person's remain authentic and he has the team that he or she build around him that get to that extra 2%.
Mm.
Make that individual successful. And I think sometimes we give too much credit to leaders, but it's the team around that leader that are key to the success of a leader. Leader's job is to set a vision, but the execution is going to be all from the team. The team has to execute.
Yeah, I remember thinking really carefully about when I was on job interviews.
Mhm.
A really important question is a sticking point is the problem in strategy or implementation?
Yeah.
So when you were saying about how we've all known leaders, one leader can succeed in an organization in a context and another may not succeed. I was thinking you were going to go along the thought line of we've all known leaders who have been very successful in one context or one culture, and then they're big and famous, and then they go on to bigger, better things, and then they fail there. It's the Peter principle, if you will, that they gosh, I can't believe that person went to that place and that they were going to kill it, and then they ended up tanking or they left. And that's where I thought you were headed because, again, the mindset of a culture, a blueprint for living,
Yeah.
it's so situational that that person's skill set may have worked very well in one context or season of life or period of the ecosystem or political system, what have you, and then it's not fitting. So the idea that I think you were saying earlier, that parasympathetic purposely, consciously developing the emotional intelligence and ability to be nimble and to recalibrate and to stretch teams and to see opportunity, I think that's a challenge, right?
Is a challenge because I think there are the certain set principles that are essential. We talked about authenticity is key, and then they always talk about leaders should be inspiring others. They should be developing people because you need a team. So that is key to have a succession planning and develop leaders, build relationships, and then lead change. The leader should be thinking critically. Critical thinking is very important for leaders. And to do critical thinking, you need space. Space means that you can't have meeting all day long. You need a space where you can think. I always say, people say mindfulness activity. I said, no, you need mind emptiness activity because when your mind is empty, then you can have a wisdom, correct? We talked about, you're going to get knowledge. I don't think we're going to need knowledge anymore. Your AI will give you more knowledge than your brain actually has. But what you need is applied knowledge. Applied knowledge is what is wisdom. And applied knowledge comes with experience. So it cannot be that you're going to see that from AI. AI will give you knowledge. AI can read books faster than you can, and they can present you with the best information out there. But, as we talked about in the old times, the knowledge is mostly for safety and security, but you need wisdom.
Mm.
And wisdom comes with time. You can't fast track it. Remember like what they say, like your mother will say, gut feeling,
Your
that intuition.
instinct,
Yeah.
instinct. Yeah.
The intuition comes with when you are able to calm yourself, and it is basically we talked about this parasympathetic
Hmm.
nervous system is very important. There's a whole book written on vagus nerve. How do you control your vagus nerve? And it runs from pretty much from top to bottom.
Mm, mm.
And it supplies all that stuff. So I think that would be one way of looking some of those things. And when you think about leadership qualities, and we discussed a little bit of that, it's a situation. How do you react to a particular situation? As you said, somebody is very innovative in their mindset. If the organization needs somebody for innovation, they don't have that, and that is the vision they want to put. You want to bring that leader to get to that innovation element that you want. If, on the other hand, your house is on fire, you want somebody to calm things down, set the culture right, you need a different kind of a leader for that particular thing. Another thing, Kim, we are scientists. There's not a randomized control trial on leadership, correct? And most of the work, when you really think about, I feel like when you read some of these leadership books, it's the self journey of that leader.
Yeah.
And they talk about their own experience and they tell about what they learned. but that's not who you are.
That's why I love when you said, I
Yeah,
cracked up at graduation when you said books
yeah,
are inspiration and knowledge only. Don't get constipated by books. Knowledge is memory in the past, and
yeah.
memory is only good for safety security. You're exactly right. Those stories, they are personal.
They
So
are
you can take
personal because
lessons.
it is like they have this self-inquiry and they want to write about it and they want to tell everyone about it. The guy's a billionaire. You are not a billionaire, okay? You are just barely making your living. So now you are reading that book and you want to use that, his advice. And I tell people, when they come, I said, don't take my advice. Please don't. Just think about yourself. I would rather you spend time on yourself,
Mhm.
learn about who you are,
Mm,
and then think about, what things resonate with you that you can expand further.
mhm.
And that is fine. I think this idea of that you want to be good at everything is not right. You need different kinds of leader. An organization needs a lot of leaders. You don't want to have everybody same personality because they'll kill each other.
Yeah.
You want a people with different traits, so that way you have a calming person, then you have a cutthroat person in the same group, but that's what the team is.
Yeah.
And I always say the simple example is look at your hand. All your fingers are different size and you need all of them. And that's the same way in a team. You need personalities, different personalities on your team to make that team successful. Now it is up to the leader how they can put that team together and make them work together. And I think that is so important. But for me, there are folks who read one leadership book, the next leadership book, the next leadership book. And I sometimes say, what are you doing?
Trying to find the
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah. And I say, first thing is, have you even learned yourself who
Who are
you are?
you? Who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First, once you know who you are, then you can say, and you can ask somebody like yourself, Kim, you've been coaching for a lot of people that, hey, given your personality and the traits you want to develop, here are the one or two books that will rhyme with you, correct?
Yeah.
But there are folks that read it, and then you can see those leaders, and when you see them talking, it's like they're regurgitating stuff from the books rather than what their experience has
Mhm.
been and what
Mhm.
they did, and you can tell that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like true leaders. Look at Martin Luther King. I don't think he read a leadership book. And one now people are writing books on his leadership style,
Style. Right.
correct? That he was a transformational leader.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right. People
you're
like
so
MLK comes every few decades or centuries. Not everybody can be an MLK. And I think people need to understand that it's good for inspiration.
Mhm.
But please don't try to be MLK,
Right.
because he is a unique individual. Same thing, Winston Churchill. He was a great leader for the war. After that, look what happened.
Hmm.
So I think
Hmm.
that's what you said earlier, that you have to have leaders for the situation you are in. Sometimes the leaders are put in a situation and then their trait will come. I'm not sure where that we have enough books during Winston Churchill time. Only thing was Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends
Win
or
friends and
something.
influence people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Winston Churchill didn't read that book. so,
No.
so I think sometimes you only see one aspect of individual. It's called that your Greek world, the persona or personality, which is a mask, correct? We all wear masks. That's how the Greek came about. And then you can talk about other stuff. For me, I think whatever decision anybody makes, give 100% to it, then that decision will be successful. Oftentimes, I see people making a decision, say, what if I've done that? I said, you just lost the battle right now. Once you make a decision, take your time, make a decision. Once you make a decision, give 100% to that decision. It will be successful. But oftentimes, people wishy-washy. Should I do this? Should I do that? And then people say, I said, no, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You decide what you want to do. I'll give you pros and cons of a situation, but that is me
Mhm.
from my experiences, my biases, my overall life experiences. You haven't gone through those life experiences, it's not going to work for you. You have to choose what resonates with you, what will work for you. And I think that is where I like the coaching part better
Than mentoring, because it
than
sounds to
men.
me the prior model is a mentoring, a mini
Yes.
me. Do
Yeah,
what
and
I did.
I think that's why a lot of people don't get it. I said, yeah, I can mentor you for pulmonary critical care, correct? I can teach you a skill. I can teach you how to take care of patient with pulmonary diseases, critical care, whatever little I know, I'll share with you. But on the other hand, coaching is helping you find your own answer. It goes back to the self-inquiry. And a lot of people don't want to sit and think because it's painful.
That's back that knowledge of self is the beginning of all wisdom. Absolutely. And what you said earlier, I think, is the crux of the matter, mind emptying. I've
Mhm.
referred oftentimes on this podcast to Dr. Rachel Levine, my
Yeah,
friend at Hopkins, who said, every week, Kim, in my calendar, I schedule 1 hour for deep thinking. And I
yeah,
said, you have this, she's like, yeah, if you look at my Outlook calendar, you'll see deep thinking. I said, well, what do you do? And she says, I think
yeah.
deeply.
No,
And that's so true.
I also tell Gigi, who's my executive assistant here, I said, listen, I need a focus time in the morning and focus time in the evening for our only time. If the president wants to meet with me during that time, open it up. Otherwise, leave it alone. I
Sacrosanct.
don't think
Absolutely.
people understand the value of those focus time. You're not doing, you are consciously undoing.
Undoing. Conscious. Oh, let's pause on that.
Yeah.
Consciously undoing. So that time that it's sacred, holy, protected is not time for us to go through emails,
No.
to reply to friends and colleagues on text, or to go on the EHP. That's not what that time is for. It's for not doing, it's for being, it's for thinking, it's for
Yes.
clearing the clutter, unplugging, and warm start or cold start boot our brains and our hearts and our whole system. I
Yeah,
love it.
and it takes time, and I think a lot of people don't know how to even
I
do.
don't have time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
I don't
think
have time to use time.
yes,
And
yes,
it's rather be in the cult of busy. And compete with how busy we are and how many meetings and running, as if that is a badge of honor.
and I always tell if the leader's too busy, there's something he or she's not doing right. The leader should be available all the time for what is needed or required. And if they are too busy all the time, leaders don't do, leaders lead. You have
Mhm.
workers who do the work, the manager who manages, leaders lead. And if leaders start doing, then you're in a big trouble.
Uh-oh.
Because first
Uh-oh.
they don't know what how to do it because you have folks who knows better than leader to do the work. But I think for leader needs to lead, and their time is mostly about having that time to themselves that hey, and the thing is, if you take enough time, a lot of the answers are within you. You just don't spend enough time
Here,
to get that
because you're,
answer bubble up
yeah.
because you've got so much clutter. The answer is deep, and it's not cost be able to come out of the clutter.
You are so right, Gulshan. I don't know how many times I love to walk,
Yeah,
and I purposely rescued two dogs just so that I wouldn't look like a Forrest Gump for hours and hours, always walking around, especially during COVID. I would walk, but I tell you, all my ideas, I feel like some of my best ideas and creative ideas are when I'm unplugged, no devices, feet on pavement, breathing air, moving my body. That to me that's what works for me versus even if I do yoga, when I do yoga and mindfulness, my mind still will race. But when I am engaged kinetically moving my body through air or trees or grass, I'm decluttering.
yeah. No, I love going to nature because to me, I just came back from Park City after a week of hiking with my sons, so it's amazing. When you get to nature, you have to disconnect for, few days every 2, 3 months if you can. And then it has to be thoughtful and conscious, and everything in moderation is important, when you really think about a lot of these activities. And I tell people that discipline is for lazy people. You don't need discipline if you know what needs to get done,
You
correct?
don't need discipline if you know what needs to be. Discipline is for lazy people. Ooh, another pearl here.
See,
Wow.
listen, you get up in the morning, if you know that, hey, I need to exercise, I need to meditate, I need to eat well, I need to show up on time on all my meetings, and I need to take care of these things. Where's the discipline? That's part of your life, correct?
Yeah, that's your
And then
morning
you be like,
routine. That's a
yeah,
routine.
yeah, that's right. And to me, I joke around with my kids about that. I said, son, if you make that as part of it, becomes a habit, and you want to have that habit. And I always tell the most important thing in 24 hours, Kim, is sleep,
Mm,
because the longest any activity you do in 24 hours is sleep.
sleep. Should be.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have good sleep, you are not going to be able to do anything else. And there is something foundational to sleep. I think people don't get it. You should do everything and have a routine to get sleep right first.
So isn't that it? I like this idea of flipping right away. I saw a reverse of, well, we sleep after everything else is done when
No,
I collapse versus flipping the script and saying sleep is the priority.
correct.
So rather than the day is so filled, and here's my day and the pie puzzles, and then that little wedge for sleep gets narrower and narrow, reverse that whole circle, and sleep becomes a priority, and anything else is get the smaller pie wedges. Wow, to upend that thought, what
I
a
I think you got to
interesting.
synchronize with the nature, and you have a homeostatic and a circadian rhythm. It releases your melatonin and cortisol level at the right time with sunset, sunrises, and I don't think why we are, the idea is, oh, I sleep late, but you then miss that whole melatonin peak.
Yeah.
All right. And then you say, okay, now we have issues. So for me, I think this deep and REM sleep are important. Your early night is deep. Deep usually comes within the first hour when you go to bed. Deep is very important. And then you
Mhm.
have REM sleep. So if you have about hour and a half to 2 hours of REM and 60 minutes, 45 to 60 minutes of deep, you're great. But the problem is REM increases over throughout the night, and it takes a long time to get to that 2 hour of REM.
Yeah.
So you have to be in bed to 7, 8 hours to
To
get
get
there.
there. And
Now, there
again,
are people who said, oh, we're doing great with 4 hours of sleep. I'm sure everybody is different.
mhm.
That's why I always tell people that there are three different intelligence. So the most important is programmed intelligence that we got from our ancestors. Think about, how you became Kim, correct? Your nose is still probably your grandma's nose, okay? It comes through your DNA. That's your programmed intelligence. And your life expectancy is all about programmed intelligence. How long you're going to live. That's the single most factor on life expectancy is programmed, correct? Then you have acquired intelligence where you go through school.
Right.
All right. And now we are talking about this artificial intelligence, some say augmented intelligence. But I think what this is just a collective conscious.
Hmm.
Basically trying to get information that we have assembled collectively over the period of 100 years or 200 years or longer, depending upon how accessible that information is on the networks. And that is a collective consciousness of all of us, good or bad.
Yeah, the Borg. We are united by as Borg.
That's right. And I
That's
think that's where, to me, the programmed intelligence still supersede acquired intelligence and this augmented intelligence or artificial intelligence. I don't know why we call it artificial, It is a collective intelligence that we have put together,
right.
and to me, is it intelligence or is it knowledge?
Hmm.
Intelligence is only if it is applied.
I was going to say, and then it doesn't matter. You can have as much
Yeah.
information jammed into your neural networks as you want. You can cram it all in there, but then what are you going to do with it? And what you
Yes.
might do with
I think
that,
that's the
we could be
challenge.
hooked into the same network, you and me, or but hundreds, thousands of us,
Yeah.
all getting the downstream blue pill, red pill, whatever. But each of us will apply that
Yeah.
differently.
Differently. And I think
So
that's the same thing is you give same circumstances to two different people, they will use that knowledge differently.
because it depends, goes back to their program, their way of being,
Right.
their personality, their dispositions, their decided and chosen way of being at that time in that place.
And that's one of the things is like when you do self-inquiry is we are all conditioned, correct? We are
Mhm.
conditioned through our upbringing. We are conditioned to our family members. We are conditioned through all of that. And then sometimes you think, is that right?
Is this who I am?
And
Is
then
this
you start to
yeah,
see that, okay, how do you uncondition yourself?
who do I
There's a lot
want
of
to be?
propaganda that you know.
Hmm.
And now one thing with the AI, I think, is because the knowledge is going to be equitable to everybody. So if you have access to Chat GPT and other vendors out there, you will get the knowledge. Then you're going to try to say that, okay, how am I going to use that knowledge? And that is going to be the main thing. And I think because we have trillions of connection in our neurons and we can do complex thinking quicker than a computer. Now,
Mm.
people would argue with me that they are building these computers. Now they are emitting a lot more CO2 than people think. And they are big data centers in different places throughout the world. And eventually they will have that computing power. I heard somebody was saying that to use some computing power for complex thinking, you need the amount of electricity that they use to light up New York City. That's how much electricity you need. And we can use it with a 20-watt bulb. In a,
Ha.
that is how the neuronal connections that we have are so efficient in doing that. Now, are we always making right decision? No.
No, no. Mm.
But that goes back to maybe it is right from my perspective, may not be from your perspective. But who is saying what is right or wrong here? Because if it's not universal truth that we are achieving here, correct?
Yeah, gosh, so much. This is great stuff. I knew you'd be awesome. I'm so happy I finally got you, and you were so incredibly busy, and I cannot believe that you spent this time with us. Great conversation. I love this. I love your take on thinking about leadership as personal, and I love how you did say that knowledge is and will be obsolete, but compassion and empathy will never become obsolete. I think that's what will distinguish us from any kind of artificial or augmented reality, that AI will never be able to have the life experiences of human connections and relationships. And that's where I think the challenge and the excitement for us as to how are we going to apply
Yeah.
all this knowledge to improve and optimize relationships, because everything about leadership is relationships, and we can get these relationships optimized with each other in dyads, in group, in small micro environments and macro environments, organizations, cultures, states, countries. That's the beauty of, I think, leadership and the possibility of what is leadership.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is we talked about, being authentic, being visible, and being kind, correct? That's the key thing for leaders. And then, at the end of the day, some would say we have two lives to live. And the day you realize you only have one, that's when the second one starts.
Boy, yeah.
Because the key is, you got to have fun. The biggest gift or the greatest gift we all have is life. Any other gift is very minuscule compared to the gift of life that we all have. And we got to live it to the fullest. And there is nobody else who can tell you how to live life than yourselves. Science is good, in terms of what we are doing, but your morals and ethics comes from faith, whether it is spiritual, religious, whatever we want to talk about. And it is important for folks to have that. You cannot explain everything with logic. There are certain things that are beyond logic, and our tools are not there that we can tap that beyond logic conversation at this point. And it's the same thing that, we have to invent telescope to look at, the space. We don't have the tools right now to look at beyond logic piece of it. And logic can only help you so much, but there are certain things we said, you know what, maybe it is true, but it may be true in Kim's experience, and that is fine. It may not be true in somebody's experience. You should acknowledge it. But I sometimes think we get too jaded because our mind is too scientific that, oh, this is not possible. Once you say something is not possible, then you just close that window. And the whole idea is to expand your mind. You just be open to suggestions. And we always say have doubt, but not skepticism. In skepticism, you've already made a decision that this is wrong. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to believe it. You have a doubt, you ask questions. So the single most important thing you can ask is, I don't know.
Yeah, tell me more.
So, when you have, I don't know, then it opens up other possibilities. And all you want to do is keep those possibilities open. There is so much that we don't know.
Yeah.
Even people who explored some basic science work and Nobel laureates, at the end, you're always going to see that the more you know, the more you realize how little you know. So having that humility is very important, that, hey, listen, you are an expert in this field. I'm a novice. I appreciate what you are telling me. That doesn't mean I need to agree with you, but what that means is open the possibility of having a dialogue. The moment you become skeptic on things, then there's no dialogue, and there will be no learning together. To me, there is so much wisdom out there. I tell usually that, hey, I don't trust humans, but I trust humanity, because the collective conscious will do the right thing. A single human can be evil, but the collective humans are all good people, and they will carry humanity forward.
Thanks for tuning in to the Faculty Factory podcast. We are a faculty development community sharing tools to build academic leaders in healthcare. Maybe you want to be interviewed on the podcast? Please visit facultyfactory.org/contact and send me a message there. The Faculty Factory podcast and website is sponsored by the Office of Faculty Affairs at the University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston, Texas.